Welcome to Beyond the Press Release, a production of Agoracom, in which we take the time to speak with small cap executives after they put out important news. With us today, does he need an introduction? I don't think so, but I'll say it for routine. We got Steve McAuley, CEO, Empire Clinics, trades on the CSC under CBDT. For our friends in the US, EPWCF, and for our friends in Frankfurt under 8EC. For those of you new to the story, most of you are the long-term investors, but there's always new people coming along. The company is an integrated healthcare company serving patients through medical centers, telemedicine platforms, and a high complexity tier 1 medical diagnostics lab processing thousands of COVID-19 specimens, big contracts, and they've just been executing ever since they acquired that back in late 2020. Today's press release, Empire Clinics announces major expansion with proposed acquisition of Medisure Canada. Diabetes tests and devices carried 4,000 pharmacies and generated $1.9 million in 2020 revenue. Steve, welcome back.
Hey, George, thank you. I always enjoy spending some time with you.
We love it because every time we talk, it's either Air Canada, expanding, you're doing great things. This is big. I mean, I love this headline. As soon as I saw it, I go, yeah, this is no ordinary course. Two things I want to ask you. Yeah. What's the importance of this acquisition from a business standpoint of view? Let's talk about the numbers, the importance, and then from a strategic fit, how it helps the current Empower's business.
Yeah, we're very excited about this. The Medisure team, led by Mario Cortis, his brother's involved in the group. They've been at this for 10 years. They've built a really nice brand. It's only in Canada at this time. And so the importance, for us is it really fits with our narrative. It fits with our path of growth going forward. You know how important direct-to-consumer medical test products are to us, with the acquisition of KAI Medical and the launch of KAI Care through our kaitest.com and .ca websites. So you can see the natural fit here. We also like the fact that there's a couple of $1 million of accretive revenue that drops in immediately, but that's just the beginning. Getting to the sort of, why is this so strategic for us is, if we put our resources behind it, like we did with KAI Medical, like we're doing with the Canadian clinic acquisitions, we bring working capital, we bring some business acumen, some expertise, we bring, sales and marketing. And I think more importantly, in this situation with Medisure, is that we bring a network. So they already are in 4,000 pharmacies in Canada, but that's just the beginning. We've got great relationships established with the likes of Rexall and our independents like Pharmasave and IDAs and London Drugs is in great discussions right now as well. But we also have our US markets. And, as much as we enjoy our Canadian markets, the scale of the US markets is, really just monumental. And we're working.
Where do you see the fit with the US markets? We haven't really talked much about US markets, especially as it pertains to pharmacy. So where do you see that fit there?
Well, the fit is really identical to what we're doing in Canada. We are establishing very solid relationships, because if you look at our pharmacy partners and the way that we're aligning ourselves with them, we're talking about alignment with, health centers, either, in a pharmacy, on a pharmacy, adjacent to a pharmacy, and all the benefits of that. But we're also talking to them about our medical product distribution. So our Canadian version of KAI Test, we've got our bilingual packaging is ready to go now for the Canadian market. That's one of the key catalysts in order to get on the shelves of our pharmacy partners going forward. We need bilingual packaging and the correct, Canadian UPC codes. If we turn that, and if you take a look at Medisure, Medisure is already distributed through pharmacies on the shelves of pharmacies. They have an e-commerce platform, not dissimilar to what we're doing with KAI Care. We have a really solid e-commerce platform for distribution. We have a desire to be on the shelves of our pharmacy partners in the markets that we serve. So the exact same dialogue is taking place with the very large pharmacy groups in the US. And we all, I think if people don't realize right now, the parent company of Rexall, our good friends, is a company called McKesson, which is a #7 Fortune 500 company in the United States, headquartered in Irving, Texas, basically, Greater Dallas. They are the largest pharmacy distribution company in North America. So we're establishing rapport and relationships in an identical fashion to what we've already established in Canada. So when I say US markets, when I look at Medisure and where they sit today, I think that we can supercharge them. I think we supercharge them with working capital, with advertising dollars, and then with reach. I think that's where the supercharging comes from.
Well, we got to talk about that a little more, because that's the first time we've really heard you say that. I've heard you say that. So what are our discussions like south of the border? Because it sounds like for you to start talk about it here in an interview, it's well past just the hi, how are you handshake stage.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we've got already established a very tremendous working relationship with a big group called Tabula Rasa, public company in the US. Anybody can look them up. 15,000 pharmacies in the United States. We're working with them on a number of initiatives right now, and as the various sort of agreements or contracts come along, then we'll certainly announce those. And I think I've mentioned previously, even when you and I have had some prior discussions, that I'm not losing sight of the large U.S. markets. We've had a lot of focus and attention on Canadian markets of late, and it's going very well.
Yeah, it's going great.
But I'm absolutely going to turn my attention onto those U.S. markets, because we're present in the United States. That's where our footprint started. So we want a large North American presence. And frankly, the US markets are, 10 times larger than the Canadian markets. So it would be remiss of us as a public company, with our reach and footprint to those markets, to lose sight of how important it is. And as you think about kind of our future path, this concept of an uplisting, I think it's very prudent for us to make sure that we keep that strong presence and growing presence in the US markets.
So that leads me then to your quote. And I guess that's the impetus for your quote. I'm going to read the excerpt here, must have been what you just talked about. Because before we started this interview, I was going to really hone in on the 4,000 pharmacies, which I think is an amazing number. And I was going to talk about what kind of distribution we get through there and what kind of opportunities. But now you're telling us that you're making significant inroads into the US. And one thing about you, Steve, when you've said things in the past, they happen. So for you to be talking about that, that just changes everything, I think. So is that why you said, I'm going to read it, as I've stated to our shareholders on multiple occasions throughout 2021, Empower's in the strongest position it's ever been, and will continue to grow every aspect of our business unabated and without interruption. That sounds like a very high level of confidence that, I mean, just the last 30 days, you mentioned in the press release, the kind of things you've announced, now this potential acquisition. How much confidence do you have going forward? It seems like you're more confident now than you were 3 months ago.
Well, I absolutely am. I have not lost faith in our organization, in our team members, in the path and the growth that we're building. Delays of a financial statement filing aside, the business model is the best it's ever been. It's sound, it's stable, and so much so that we can bring forward, opportunities and transactions like Medisure. I just think it's a great fit for us. And it's just another way for us to demonstrate that we will continue to seek opportunities for growth. I will always be careful with our capital. It's not trivial to me to be cautious with that working capital that we have, but we also have to use our capital. We have to use our capital to grow. And this is a perfect example. And I look at where Medisure is today, and Medisure, hasn't had sort of the working capital that to really supercharge that business.
They're a private company, so they're probably pretty solid family. I'm assuming family run, good, but they don't have warrant proceeds that we've had. They don't have
no, and really
finance income, and so they're kind of
exactly.
living more prudently.
Well, exactly. It's just, it's really, they've done a great job in, keeping it going for the amount of time that they have. They've got trademarks and IP. It's a very important sector of healthcare. If you look at some of the statistics, unfortunately, 1 in 4 Canadians are either diabetic or pre-diabetic. This is not getting better going forward. And so for us to be able to serve those, Canadians and U.S. people with our healthcare services as part of, our integrated healthcare company it's very important work. The other thing that we have with Medisure is we have a pipeline of development. There's a product set coming later in 2021 and into 2022 and beyond of further higher degrees of technology in the diabetic sector on their product set. So we're going to help with that product development. We're going to help with marketing the brand. We're going to look at all sorts of mediums, from whether it's TV spots or it's radio spots or advertising, to really get more market share. Obviously starting in Canada, but the US market for diabetic testing products is 10 times larger than the Canadian market. So there's a lot to get after there. And
the synergies, and if everyone who watches these interviews knows, I rarely use the term synergy because it's so overused. But in this case, I've been thinking that they've got about 50,000 customers that they know of. I guess there's some way where they're on a mailing list or direct to consumer, whatever the case.
Yeah, exactly.
Doesn't that also open up the door for, hey, since you're using Medisure products, you should also, because unfortunately, if you're suffering from diabetes, you probably need some care, right? You need some clinical care for various ailments that come with diabetes.
Absolutely. I mean,
does that open the door to saying, hey, George, come on into our nearest clinic? Here's some information on where to find our clinic so we can come in and take care of you.
You're totally correct. I mean, Synergies is perhaps an overused word, but when I was looking at this opportunity and working very closely with Mario and his team, it was plainly obvious that if we could work out a transaction that was the right terms, that we would be able to plug them into our network, and we would be able to, if you look at our 2 pillars. One are our healthcare centers with medical doctors and paramedical practitioners, and then our science and R&D side on direct-to-consumer medical products. It fits into both of those pillars. So we can plug in. I see Medisure's products being distributed on kaitest.com and .ca.
Naturally.
I see Medisure products being made available in our healthcare centers directly. I see them partnering up with getting them onto the broader distribution on the shelves of our pharmacy partnerships that we're really nurturing and developing. And then really just accessing, new markets such as the United States that they haven't had the ability to get to yet. So now the other thing too that maybe is not so obvious, one of the things that I additionally like about it is that Mario and his team are Health Canada medical device experts. They have MDEL, MDAL. They understand branding. They understand packaging. They understand fulfillment. So what we get out of Medisure is a natural Canadian fulfillment arm.
Yeah, and that's so important, right? If you want to, you either build that yourself or you acquire it.
Well, that's correct. And, so there's a few additional sort of almost like not obvious synergies that make sense. And what Mario and his team bring is they also bring that leadership in the medical device world for our markets. And we need high quality organizational development. And I'm very excited to be able to work with Mario on our leadership team because I know that they're going to bring a lot of talent and good advice and expertise. Just makes our organization better.
Yeah, and I've got to imagine when you're running a private company with that kind of success, 4,000 pharmacies, but you've been able to do it privately, the discipline they must have internally is Steve McAuley kind of discipline, where, hey, get results, don't break the bank and do stupid things, just get results that matter. That and that's got to be really valuable for you to.
Yeah, you know what? These guys run a tight ship. You know, it's really commendable. Again, it's another reason why I think the fit is so good. You know, culturally, I think they fit with where we're going. Yeah. I think they see our vision for the future. And, you know, I just think of when I talk to Mario and we have our one-on-one sessions, I'm constantly thinking is that, well, what if these guys had, you know, additional working capital? What if these guys had the shackles off and could really get after it because they weren't worried about, you know, am I making payroll next week or keeping the lights on? And they have the ability to, you know, be creative and get after, you know, bigger and new markets. I think they're going to, you know, really bring dramatic growth to their business model. So I don't see this thing staying at, you know, $2 million a year in annualized revenue. I've got very high expectations for Mario and his team.
Well, don't we actually have that answer already, Steve? We've got a sneak peek, because look what happened to KAI Labs, right? You acquired in October, and within the first few weeks, you had your first $1 million contract on it, something that it had never seen. Look what's happening with the Canadian Clinics acquisition, that within a couple of months, I can't remember, was it 2-3 months, you announced Rexall moving ahead. You got 22 clinics in the pipeline. And this is beginning of June. We're not even halfway through the year, and you've already started supercharging the clinics. So if you're able to do that with KAI Labs, you're able to do that with the Canadian Clinics, I can only imagine what you guys are going to be able to do together with Mario. Yeah,
you're completely correct. I mean, has been my assessment of Medisure, and you know, we have a very active pipeline of acquisition opportunities, and you know, not all of them work out. You know, there's numerous ones that we've walked away from recently because of a number of reasons, and so you know, and we walk away from more transactions than we actually complete. And so, you know, it's a testament to Medisure and Mario and his leadership that we could, you know, bring this to this point. You know, I've got a bit of a formula that we follow, as we've talked about previously. When we look at acquisitions, it's a very disciplined approach to due diligence. And again, it may not be for everyone as an entrepreneur, but Mario is, you know, he's got a corporate background with some tremendous roles over a very great career. Super energetic people. They are committed to growth. And these are all the, you know, intangibles that really make a difference. And so I am very optimistic about the contributions that the Medisure team are going to make to, you know, the greater public company. And I'm looking forward to, you know, having Mario's leadership and guidance and support on this journey.
And what I also love about what's come out of all this, and there's so many things have come out of this, the US part, I'm still kind of spinning my head. I'm not going to ask you anything now because I want to ask a great question. So we'll say that for another time. But the other inference, Steve, is this, because you kind of mentioned earlier, just briefly, delayed filings aside. Two things come out of this. One, you guys are on the move. This is just an acquisition that we know about. You've obviously, from the sounds of it, you've been evaluating others. It's not like one fell in your lap and you said, hey, let's buy this. We're not talking about a pizza. So the company is moving ahead with unabated. I guess that's why it's in your. The other part is, hey, look, if I'm running, because my family does have a private business, a private food business, right? If you're going to be acquired by a public company, you've got your own accountants, you've got your own lawyers making sure that this is the right fit. Clearly, delayed finances are nothing that they're worried about, because this acquisition could be closing sometime in July. So I just want maybe you chime in on that, because the long term, it doesn't seem like anybody cares, or it's not a roadblock to getting these kind of acquisitions done, which means it's not that big of a problem.
Yeah, you know, what you're alluding to there is actually correct. You know, so in any any coming together, of an acquisition, where we're the acquirer, Medisure is the seller. They're doing tremendous due diligence on us.
Oh yeah, more so than you, I think, maybe. It's their family business. They don't want to give it away to somebody's going to blow it.
Absolutely, this is a very important material decision for Mario and his team and his family, and his team members are his family, quite frankly. And they did significant due diligence on us. There's no way that they're going to make an important decision like this, a life-changing decision, without understanding that we have stability, that we have a balance sheet, that we have the access to capital, that our vision matches their vision. So this is a two-way street in due diligence. And we certainly had many candid discussions with their representatives and their team to bring this to where we are today. So I think it's a great point that you brought up. And I think what it should do for all of our followers is remind them that we are in the most stable position we've ever been in before. Our cash position is still very strong, and we have a great growth plan ahead. And a transaction like Medisure, are the type of transactions that we, I feel like we're entitled to be able to, bring to the table. We have worked very hard on, really becoming a growth-oriented public company with credibility. I think that our track record of execution is one of the most important things that we have. And I think that's built our credibility, and we will build on that, credibility of execution going forward.
Well, thanks for making, time to talk to us today, Steve, because you're 100% right. Your execution is there. Another great acquisition, hasn't closed yet. By the way, I'll add devil's advocate. I'll ask you that.
Yeah.
It's a non-binding, but it looks like you guys are trying to wrap this up pretty soon. If I remember July, mid-July or something.
Yeah,
how's your confidence level in the deal, in the acquisition actually closing?
Very high. We've done a great deal of due diligence already. So we already know what we're walking into. It is not a very complex transaction as transactions go. Some of our other transactions had much more complexity to it because of the number of sort of legal entities involved. This is actually very straightforward. They have a nice, clean, simple structure. And so we're not expecting to see anything unusual in the final stages of due diligence and documentation. So I think our timelines that we put out there seem very reasonable to me, as where we sit today.
All right, so I look forward to having you and Mario back on. We'll do a triple screen Zoom invite so every week, so everybody can meet Mario when this deal closes. But in the meantime, I don't know if I should be saying congratulations, so I don't jinx anything, but well done on this acquisition. And I just love how Empower keeps getting stronger and stronger every month. And your final quote, I fully expect Empower to have continued strong business announcements in June. That's what you ran out throughout 2021. So I can't wait to have you back, because it sounds like there's more coming. But congrats on this, and what a great display again of what Empower is capable of, Steve.
Great, George. Thank you so much for the kind words. Really appreciate it.
For everybody at home, you've been watching or you've been listening by podcast on Spotify, Google, Apple, your favorite podcast platform, to Steve McAuley. He's CEO of Empower Clinics, trades on the CSE under CBDT. For our friends in the US, EPWCF, and for our friends in Europe on Frankfurt under 8EC. For those of you new to the story, because you saw this headline, because it's a great headline, do due diligence, start off at Agoracom, go to the profile page for Empower. Big picture stuff is all there because there are a lot of moving parts, but they all fit strategically, vertically, which is great. And then hop over to the Empower Clinics website, do more due diligence. Hopefully discover your next great small cap company. Have a great day. See you next time.